Alex Haugland.
And I'm Amy Haugland.
And this is our 1962 Ferrari 250 GTE.
Welcome to Everyday to Exotic.
And to the beautiful Oregon Cascades.
Yay!
There's over 200 cars in the Haugland collection.
And it just keeps growing.
Our goal is to try and drive them all.
Each episode, we'll talk about the car's history, showcase its design and features, and dive into its mechanicals.
Then we'll take it out on a drive through the beautiful roads of Oregon.
Finally, we'll rate our car to see where it stands in the Haugland rank.
In this episode of Everyday to Exotic,
Alex tries to close a trunk.
New seals. Amy admires a shiny horse.
As subtle as a prancing horse can be.
And Alex kills a butterfly.
And I just had a butterfly crash into my windscreen.
Oh.
All this and more on today's episode of Everyday to Exotic.
But first, let's take a look into the car's history.
Ferrari was founded in 1938 by Enzo Anselmo Giuseppe Maria Ferrari, who was born in Modena, Italy. He grew up working in his father's mechanical workshop and fell in love with motor racing at the age of 10 after watching Felice Nazzaro's win at the 1908 Circuito di Bologna.
He began his motorsport career as a race car driver, first for CMN, a small company from Milano, and then in 1920 with Alfa Romeo, which was quickly coming to dominate the track in pre-war racing. After the death of his fellow teammate, Ugo Sivocci, in a fatal crash in 1923, he fell out of love with being a driver and the risks involved, and instead his interest moved towards being more active in the organizational side of running a racing team.
Moving in that direction, he founded Scuderia Ferrari in 1929, which served as the factory-sponsored racing team for Alfa Romeo, whose cars he represented on the track until 1939, when he left Alfa Romeo after a disagreement with Alfa's managing director.
Before the outbreak of World War II, his newly founded company managed to produce 2 cars for the 1940 Mille Miglia. But during the war, the factory in Modena was bombed, and following the war, a new factory was built in Maranello, which still serves as the home of Ferrari today.
Enzo Ferrari's love remained in racing, and, following the war, he decided to take on Alfa Romeo and others with his own team, debuting in 1948 with the first victory coming in 1949 at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The car, a 166mm, was powered by a diminutive 2-liter V12 engine designed for Ferrari by Gioacchino Colombo, who had previously worked with Alfa Romeo to design engines for Enzo Ferrari. The V12 engine proved a solid foundation to base future displacements on, and thus set the foundation for Ferrari's engines for the next 2 decades, as well as the company's trends toward V12 engines in general.
As expected, racing proved to be an expensive business, so to afford to continue to race and develop cars, Ferrari launched into producing sports cars for the general public, utilizing the mechanical developments created for the racetrack to produce high-level cars for the road. In 1952, the Colombo engine was enlarged to 3 liters, producing the first of the 250 series of Ferrari cars that established the brand worldwide as an icon both on the road and on the track, with legendary cars like the 250 Testarossa and 250 GTO. On the Grand Touring end of things, there were also several models of cars with beautiful coach-built bodies by a wide range of Italian coach builders, including Vignale, Boano, Zagato, and most prolifically, Pininfarina.
In 1959, to meet demand for a more practical variant of the GT cars, the 250 GTE was introduced with bodywork by Pininfarina and was the first Ferrari with 4 seats to see significant production. Compared to the 2-seat variants, the engine was moved forward to increase interior space without significantly increasing length of the car, giving enough room to put a pair of seats in the back, more suitable to children than full-grown adults, giving the car a 2+2 layout.
Formally released at the 1960 Paris Motor Show, the car proved popular, with 955 GTEs being built by Pininfarina, and the car progressed through 3 series, with minor variations in trim, before being replaced by the 330 American 1963, which further increased displacement to 4 liters in an essentially identical body to the final series of the 250 GTE.
Our car is a 1962 Series 1 example, originally sold in Italy. It was purchased by the previous owner and imported to the United States in the 1970s. It remained under the same ownership and ended up being parked for several decades in an outbuilding on their property until it was pulled out to be restored and returned to the road in the early 2010s. The car had never been restored previously and had suffered from the poor storage, requiring a complete ground-up rebuild of the car in which every component was taken apart, repaired, recommissioned, and reassembled, producing a car that is restored to be as close to as it was originally constructed as possible.
The restoration was carried out locally to us at Vintage Underground Restorations in Eugene, Oregon, and we had the opportunity to watch the car go through the complete process as a car in our collection was being restored in parallel. After the restoration was completed, we acquired the car from the previous owner a couple of years later, and have since shown the car at a number of events, as well as enjoyed driving it when the opportunity arises. So the shape of Ferraris of this era is very different from that of Ferraris of today. This is far more the typical shape of what you would see of Ferraris of sort of the height of the Enzo era of the 1950s and 1960s. Not the classic wedge that you tend to see today. It's not mid-engined, it's got a nice long hood, but it's very, very well laid out. It's a very elegant shape for a touring car.
And even though it is a remarkably practical car, it's not just a pure sports car. The proportions still make it beautiful. Part of that is the way that the balance is done. The hood section is basically a third. The passenger cabin is about a third. And then the tail section is about a third.
The end result is that no part of the car ends up feeling too big or too small. You don't feel like you have kind of a weird back end like you see on some cars, or the front end seems like it's too long or too out of balance, or the cockpit seems really tight and narrow. It feels really very well proportioned overall, and absolutely very much in the style of what Pininfarina was doing at the time in their body designs.
And it's really impressive considering that this is essentially a 2+2 configuration, as opposed to something that's really designed as a 4-person sedan. This sweeping curve of the roof remains absolutely elegant, unlike a lot of other cars that started out as a sports car and then they wedged a back seat in there.
And the windows on the side really emphasize that shape with how they curve down and kind of continue that graceful arc that if you're to follow it through, will go right into the tail of the car.
All in all, just a beautiful, elegant design that makes a practical car still feel very beautiful and sporty.
The chrome on this car is also there and really helps emphasize the shape of the car in many ways. You've got this spear on the hood that does a good job of sort of emphasizing the front and breaks up the front line of the hood. You've got chrome on the grille, basically underneath the headlights where the air flows into the cabin. So the chrome on the front end, for the most part, is fairly delicate. I mean, we have a very significant chrome bumper here, but the rings around these headlights are these beautiful little chrome inserts that are inset into the pod, leaving the paint and bodywork to really define the shape of the headlight. You have the fog lights set into this beautifully shaped oval grille, and it really becomes part of the line of the grille and kind of adds detail to the corners of it. Same type of thing with the grille itself. It's just a very basic, what you would call an egg crate style grille. You've got the little cavallino, the little prancing horse in the middle, as well as the Ferrari badge on the front. But for the most part, the chrome here is subtle and flows with the lines of the car. It doesn't try and dominate and take over.
It does provide a setting in a way that I've mentioned about cars before. It makes the entire car look like a jewel, as opposed to even necessarily just the lights. It sets it off without overwhelming. Also, you're not gonna forget it's a Ferrari, but the badging is not in your face. It's as subtle as a prancing horse can be.
Front license plate is the original Italian license plate for the car, as far as the numbers and things along that line. It's a replica. It's a fairly accurate replica, but it really fits the front end in a way that a US modern plate would not. As we head back, we have our side marker light, of course, and then we have these elegant vents set into the side of the body that are louvered, and that basically allows some of the heat in the engine bay to escape as you go down the road. It also gives a nice subtle detail to kind of fill in the line of the car and fits the general shape of the wheel arch as well as this body trim line.
They're not just decorative.
Something that is decorative, but very important, is the Pininfarina badge. Because this is an Italian car. You gotta know not just who created it, but also who designed it. And that was Pininfarina. Another important detail on this car is the Borani wheels. The first thing to notice is the Borani logo on the knockoff. These wheels look a lot like steel wheels that were used on British cars of the same era, but they're not the same. They have chrome on the knockoff and on the spokes, but this rim is aluminum rather than steel. This provides strength, but also makes the wheels a lot lighter than they would be otherwise.
So one other thing that you'll notice are these little chrome things at the bottom here. These are jacking point plugs. Basically, they cover up a hole in the body. These pull out, and if you needed to jack up the car to change a wheel, the jack slides into that hole and raises the car from that. You don't see them on modern cars. They're something very common on European cars of this era, but not something that most people know exactly what it is. So, worth pointing out.
And now you know.
As we move further to the back of the car, we go past our fuel filler, which has a lock on it. This is a fairly large gas tank, so lock keeps people from siphoning your fuel as you're parked on the side of the road. And come back, we've got a rear bumper and then our rear taillights. And to steal Amy's thunder, they did a really good job of setting in the lights so that they're like jewels set in a setting of chrome.
One thing that sets off that chrome, however, to steal my thunder back, you have this beautiful black rubber line. I really like that because it helps the silver of the chrome stand out from the sort of champagne gold of the paint.
Get on the back, we have our Ferrari emblem. Identify the car. Words this time, not a little cavallino. And then there's this beautiful badge in gold here with the Scuderia Ferrari emblem on one flag, and on the other flag you have the Pininfarina emblem. And the other thing you'll notice back here is that we have 4 exhaust pipes. This is a V12 after all, so you have to get a fair amount of exhaust out of the engine. A Ferrari V12 is essentially 2 inline 6-cylinder engines stuck together. We'll get to more of that later, but because of that, you basically duplicate everything, including the exhaust system. And moving in the trunk itself, we have our release and handle here above the license plate light plinth that sticks out from the body. By pushing that in, we lift it up, and the trunk holds itself open. And to save time, we've gone ahead and already unrolled the full Ferrari toolkit that goes with this car. You've got all your wrenches, you've got screwdrivers, you've got grease guns, you've got a jack, you've got things to remove spark plugs, you've got whatever the heck this thing is. I think it's for pulling hubs, to be honest. I'm fairly certain that's what it is. Not something you're doing every day on the roadside. I have already been told that the handle on my hammer is the wrong color. Tough. I drive this thing.
This is a fairly spacious trunk when the tool roll is rolled up and tucked away where it needs to be. You can fit about 7 cases of wine in here. It's a really good sized trunk. And being Italian, that's a good thing.
We like Italian wine. So a couple more things to mention before we close up the trunk and move on. There's a spare tire underneath the carpet here in the center, underneath the toolkit. So just trust me. The one other thing to note is we do have a reverse light tucked very tightly underneath the bumper here. You can't really see it very easily without specifically looking for it, but it's always nice to have. And another nice feature on a car of this caliber. And with that,
I think we're done.
lift up. New seals. It's a Ferrari. It isn't about the body of the car. It isn't about the general appearance and styling of the thing. It's about what's under the hood. So let's get to it. So Amy, if you want to pop the hood, I will go and open it up and we'll start talking about it. So, first off, it lifts up. There's a little prop that pivots down and keeps it in place. But I'll go around the other side. It'll make it easier to talk. So the one thing you'll notice on these engines is there seems to be 2 of everything. And there is a logical reason for that. The Ferrari Colombo engine is essentially 2 straight 6-cylinder engines stuck together sharing a crankshaft. The advantage of that is, even though you end up with duplication of things like 2 distributors, 2 coils, 2 oil fillers, all this type of stuff, 2 oil filters for that matter, you end up having the advantage of when you rev the car higher, you're less concerned about the fact that the points in there have to open and close and the coil has to recharge in a certain amount of time. By essentially doubling everything, you end up with an engine that operates more like a 6-cylinder engine than a 12-cylinder engine. And that gives you the advantage because the 2 distributors are slightly offset from each other and fire a different bank of cylinders. By doing that, it allows this engine to rev higher than it would otherwise be able to do on a mechanically operated set of points. And that made this car able to be a better performer than it would have been with any standard normal distributor it otherwise would have had. So the other thing we really should get into at this point is where Ferrari gets their names from. Why is this a 250? Why was the 166 a 166? It was a 2-liter car. This is a 3-liter car. The way that Ferrari decided to name their cars was rather odd. And what they did is they said, it's a 12-cylinder engine, we're only making 12-cylinder engines. So what we'll do is we'll give you a name that is the displacement of a single cylinder in that 12-cylinder engine. So if we take that number, in this case 250, and say, okay, that's 250 cc's per cylinder. Multiply that by 12, it's a 3-liter engine. The 166, multiplied by 12, it's almost exactly 2 liters, a little bit under, 19.96 or something like that. I'm not doing math on the fly. So that's where the name comes from. On that note, we have 3 carburetors, each with 2 barrels. It's not necessarily 6 carburetors, which would have been on, for example, a Testarossa, one of the race motors. In the layout of the engine bay, for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. Being a high-end Italian car, unsurprisingly, we have air horns. That seems to be pretty typical in Italian cars of this era. They're louder, they're more noticeable. When you're blasting down the freeway faster than everyone else, you really want to let them know, get out of my way. Battery sits here. It's a 12-volt system. It's always been a 12-volt system. Our fuses and everything sit under a metal cover here with these nice little chrome nuts holding it on. We do have a brake booster system, and the brake booster is over on that side and gives you a fair amount of assistance with the brakes. The brakes are Dunlop disc brakes. They work pretty well. It's actually a fairly good system, especially for the era. And then we have our brake reservoir, which the interesting story is the top of those were painted wrinkled black. The reason they're painted wrinkled black is otherwise they would say Fiat on them, because they're actually a Fiat part that they ended up using in these cars in order to basically have a reservoir. But you didn't want to put anything that said Fiat, a low-end Italian car in comparison, on a Ferrari. So we'll just paint that wrinkled black and you'll never know until you have to restore one. And the only one you can find is the Fiat version. So we have the fuel filter over here. The typical Italian fuel line, for some reason, is this wire-wrapped, fabric-covered yellow fuel line. You see it on a lot of Italian cars, not just Ferrari, but you'll see it on Lancia, you'll see it on several others at the time. Our thermostat is in line with the radiator, and the radiator itself is actually a pretty good size and does an amazing job of keeping this car cool. This car is absolutely happy running very, very cool at all times, even in hot weather. That said, at times you don't necessarily want it to be running cool. If you're racing down the road, if you want to go really fast, certainly you want to have a radiator that can handle all the extra heat you're generating. But there's actually a knob underneath the dash on this that raises a blind that blocks off the radiator as you crank it up. What that does is it reduces the efficiency of the radiator and allows the car to warm up better. And right here on the front of the engine, you will also see we have our engine number and everything, and Ferrari cast in. But then we have a plate that gives you your firing order, direction of march, as they say, of all 12 cylinders marked out on it. And it's numbered basically as banks. So 1 through 6 on this side and 7 through 12 on that side. Being a car from 1962, we do have a generator on this. It is not an alternator. The air filter is 3 sections on top here with a little screw accesses that are these beautiful cast 3-lobed wing nuts holding it on. It just sucks air in through the little chrome intakes on the side, through the filter, and into the engine itself. The transmission on this car is a 4-speed manual, and it has an electric overdrive. It's a Laycock de Normanville style electric overdrive, so basically the same one that you find on a lot of British cars of this era. Works very well for this. It gives you an extra gear, good performance, very, very nice to have. All of that carries through the driveline to a solid rear axle, and that solid rear axle out to the wheels. So the last thing to talk about is the suspension, which for the most part is not that complex, honestly, for a car of sort of this caliber and performance. So the front is pretty basic. It's a coil-sprung, dual A-arm independent front suspension with a tubular shock absorber. Nothing really out of the ordinary than what you would typically see on performance cars in general of this era. The rear as well is actually pretty simple. So it is leaf-sprung, solid axle. It does have a trailing arm in order to help keep the axle from wrapping under torque from the engine and kind of keep the axle exactly where you want it. The car still handles and drives really well though. It's pretty well balanced. It is a perfectly good suspension system given the intention of what this car should be, a high-speed touring car. Great for the Autostrada, great for the Autobahn in Germany, areas where you can actually open it up and really take full advantage of that engine speed and the way it sings, while at the same time keeping everyone inside very comfortable. And with that, I think we've covered the vast majority of the mechanicals. If there's anything else you want info on, ask in the comments and we'll see what we can give you. That said, let's move on to Amy in the interior, which is also worth talking about.
Welcome to the interior. Something I love about the partnership between Ferrari and Pininfarina is how well they set each other off. Ferrari is about power and speed, and Pininfarina is about making that power and speed look incredibly elegant. So we'll start with the overall interior. It is trimmed in leather everywhere, including the headliner, which is extremely unusual. The headliner matches the body color, which I love that that's brought into the interior. The contrast between that champagne gold and the red is just stunning. The dashboard is fairly simple. You have your usual gauges, all labeled in Italian, of course, because this was an Italian car, so your speedometers in kilometers. No air conditioning, but you do have your temperature control gauges and how much air you get in. Cigarette lighter. Lovely, elegant glove box, just kind of set in there. Not going to open that. The key is on the usual European sports car side. The turn signal is here on this side. This side, you have an overdrive. Push it in, take it back out. We also have this knob under here that you can wind and unwind that raises and lowers the radiator blind, as Alex mentioned earlier in the engine section. Steering wheel is wood and chrome with the cavallino in the middle.
Jeez. I know it's air horns, but
it still startled me. The knobs here are fairly standard. We have our lights and our panel lights and our fog lights and those sorts of things. It's fairly standard. Aside from this knob here with the A on it, our car has a mechanical fuel pump. However, if you pull this knob, it activates the electric fuel pump, which you can use to prime the system. It also works as a backup in case the mechanical fuel pump fails. The radio is era appropriate. Of course, it's a cruiser, you gotta have a radio. The radio has a single speaker. It's right there. That's the only speaker, that's what you got. Most radios were put in at the dealer, and that single speaker means you're not cutting more holes into your Ferrari. Don't want that. Ashtrays, because we gotta have ashtrays. There's one in the front, one in the back. We have seen ashtrays like this before, but not with the crossed flags on it. It does this. That's cool. It's a very clean ashtray. On the rear view mirror, we have a very special feature. It's a map light. There's a little switch right here. I flip that on, the little map light turns on. That off, turns off. So now let's talk about the back seat. In order to get into the back seat, you simply tilt the seat forward. And there we are. It's very cushy back here. However, one hopes that either you are not very tall or the person sitting in front of you is not very tall. It's got a center armrest, it's got side armrests, it's got bolsters. If you can fit back here, you are going to be very, very comfortable. And of course, back here, we have another ashtray. You know, in case your short children want to smoke also. Pininfarina doors are awesome. They're just always beautifully designed. And this is no exception. This is your release for the door. You pull up to let yourself out, push down to lock. This is your quarter light window knob. So, you know, you wind it and it opens and closes the window. This car has manual roll down windows. There was an option for electric windows. And the evidence of that is right here in this kind of weird little plate with this hole in it. That was a place where you could put an emergency winder in case your electric windows failed. We don't have the cover for this. If you know somewhere where you can get one, let us know, because we have not been able to find it and we don't know what it looks like. So if you do, please leave a comment. Thanks. But I thought that was just fascinating that you had the option. This is a Pininfarina door pocket. I love Pininfarina door pockets. They're always so interesting and cool. You just have this little tab and you pull it open and it snaps shut. the light set into the door just looks really cool. Again, Pininfarina, we love their stuff. We've already filmed our drive in this car, so now please join us in the past. In our Ferrari 250 GT. And it's pretty easy to drive, but the idle is set a little low, so it's hard for me to keep it moving at a stop sign. Luckily, we're on the highway now, so I don't have to worry about that.
We're on our way to Bend, Oregon, Eastern Oregon, which is a very different environment from where we normally have been driving so far. This is the end of a holiday weekend, so there's a lot of people who went out, go camping and backpacking and going off-road and everything else. So lots and lots of people out on the road coming back home today. We're kind of going the opposite direction. We're going into the mountains as opposed to out of the mountains. Yet we still have not left our county. Our county stretches from the coast to the Cascade Mountain Range. We haven't hit the peak of the Cascades yet, but we will on this trip.
I mean, this is kind of one of the amazing things about living in Oregon is the variety of environments and how quickly you get out to the country and into the woods from town.
Yep.
So about this car, steering's pretty easy, acceleration is good, the brakes are good, clutch is a little heavy for me, but you know, it's a big car. Yep. It's a lot of car to move around, and it's cool with the curves, which is good because as we ascend, the roads are winding, and so you need to be able to steer with precision, which this car is pretty good about.
Yeah, this is the first time you've driven this car, too.
Yes.
So,
you know, it takes a little bit of getting used to.
Okay.
How do I turn on the overdrive again?
Push the right stick forward.
There. We're going to go fast enough now that the overdrive is a good thing to have. There's not a lot of play in the steering, which I appreciate.
Nope. Steering's actually pretty good,
It's
not
pretty
too
precise.
heavy.
Yeah. Well, and again, especially once you're moving, you just have to kind of hold it in one position and you get to where you need to be. This is definitely a cruiser. This is not set up to be a race car, though you probably could if you wanted to, but I would not necessarily recommend it. There are better cars for racing. This car is for long road trips. And you'll notice that my head position is a little weird because it's either crane my neck to look over the steering wheel or duck my head to look underneath it, at which point I look like a little old lady, and that's not good for my neck. So...
I mean, it's a Ferrari. They put the steering wheel where they wanted it.
Yep.
And you get to live with it.
And you'll like it.
Need to get you a booster seat.
Apparently. But then I really wouldn't be able to reach the clutch. So, yeah, this is probably not a car that I would drive every day, simply because of my physical limitations. But it's not bad to drive at all. It's perfectly happy going whatever speed I want to go. It is very comfortable, but having to keep my foot on the gas constantly, and it is a very interactive car, which I like. It requires you to pay attention, which is part of what sets classic cars apart from modern cars. I think a lot of modern cars assume you're not going to pay attention, with all the alerts and all the assists and vibrating your backside when you know,
Going over a line.
Even when you have done that intentionally because you're changing lanes. Let me tell you, it's a bit weird. So I like that this Ferrari does not do those things.
Yes.
It assumes that I am a responsible human being.
Yes.
It's perfectly happy going whatever speed I want to go. Again, I am in fourth with the overdrive going, and it's just like, hey, we're just going to go. But I haven't had to touch the brakes. Part of that is that we haven't seen any wildlife, and people are driving in a reasonable fashion. This car accelerates very well, but you do have to be emphatic on the pedal.
Yep. Well, you can turn off your overdrive since you're accelerating uphill, and you'll be in much better gear ratio.
There we go. See, I do not know very much about overdrives. I've not really driven many cars with overdrives.
It's a fifth gear, basically. So,
But I'm not used to the lever and remembering when it's on and remembering when it's not on. It's just a new thing to learn, and I have learned a lot doing this. We did want to talk a little bit about how this is officially episode 30 of Everyday to Exotic.
this is the last episode of season 3, with the season being 10 episodes.
Thinking about this particular season,
We've driven some great cars.
some really good cars, mostly Italian and English. So we got a French car in there,
Got a German car in there.
and we got a Japanese car in there. It's fairly representative of our collection. Also, I drove every single car
Yes.
this season, and that for me is a really big deal.
And the vine. I did not set these places, but they feel like home.
I love this car. I love the sound of the engine. I love how it feels. I love the way it drives. This is a lot of fun. I'm also more comfortable behind the wheel, so I can actually use the car more than Amy can,
Yes,
which is okay.
yes.
This car is just very, very happy on these wide open, high-speed roads. It's fine with the turns, it's fine with the hills. It's got such a great engine sound, just such a great note to it in general. I mean, this is a car from 1962. It feels like driving a car probably 15 years newer. It just has a sense of quality about it. The engine has great power and great sound. It fires up. It feels great. It steers well. It brakes well. The throttle response is good. You can carry too much speed in the corners too easily.
Yeah, you did have to keep telling me to slow down. It's very easy to go fast in this car.
Yes, it wants to. I think it takes the best of what Ferrari has to offer as far as power, drivetrain, combines it with some of the best of what Pininfarina has to offer in a car that'll seat 4, and it just really makes it the perfect package for a GT car. I had a lot of fun driving our Lancia Aurelia. This is a far more capable car than the Aurelia is. The Aurelia is a technological marvel, but in a lot of ways this is too. This Colombo V12 is a fantastic engine. It sounds great, it runs well, it's got good power. It's really the icon of what Ferrari was all about when this car was made. Ferrari didn't do anything but V12s, and primarily race cars and engines that they put in race cars, adapted for the street. The only reason to sell a street car, so you can afford to go racing. I mean, it's sort of the same philosophy that Lotus had, where Colin Chapman basically saying, I could care less about street cars. But I think Enzo had sort of the same philosophy. It's like, the street car was the comfortable car you're in as you drive to the race. But the race is what it's all about. The race breeding behind these Ferraris really makes them amazing.
But even their GT car kind of gives you a taste of the racetrack.
Absolutely. I mean, you went into the Ferrari dealership looking at the GTO. You came out buying this.
Yeah.
Because this you can use, this you can drive. The Ferrari 250 GTO is a stunning piece of automotive genius as far as a race car. One of the most beautiful body designs ever. But this is a car you can get behind the wheel of and use every day.
And you can put your kids in the back.
Exactly.
This could be a family car that at the time, Dad still really enjoyed driving.
Yes. I mean, this isn't the Ferrari 250 Lusso for basically the playboy who's going to run off and like take his date up into the Swiss Alps or something.
Yeah.
This is the one for the guy who's gotten married already, has the kids, but still wants a cool car.
Yes.
This car has been fully restored from the ground up, completely taken apart, everything rebuilt, everything put back together, and made to run as if it were brand new. And so this really is probably the best sense of what these cars could be. I mean, there are other ones out there that it's like people own them, people occasionally maybe drive them. This car was built to drive. And it really is kind of sad because for about the first 3 years I owned this car, I was planning on showing this car. And there were a couple of national Ferrari meets happening in the area that ended up getting delayed because of COVID. And so for quite a while, I kind of put this car aside and preserved it because I wanted to take it to those shows and see how it would do. I've done that now. It did reasonably well. There were a bunch of amazing Enzo-era Ferraris at the show. It's really, really hard to compete, even with a perfectly restored car, against every other car being perfectly restored. And some of the earliest Ferraris made and things like that in that show. Some of the rarest Ferraris in the world in that show. And this car did place well. It did well for what it is. But I'm so glad to be done with that and actually be able to now really focus on using this car for what it's intended for and drive it. This is perfect conditions to be driving this in. This car doesn't care about the hills, it doesn't care about the heat. If anything, it tends to run cold in comparison. I mean, we've been driving for more than an hour. We're sitting at about 75 degrees Celsius. And it's both our coolant temperature and our oil temperature. This car cools better than it needs to. It's designed to kind of thrash it, designed to really push it, and it has the cooling capacity to do that in 100-degree weather. It makes it a great long-distance touring car.
It's a very warm day, and I'm very comfortable.
And
Even with God knows how much wool in my lap.
air conditioning would be great, and you may have had air conditioning technically as an option, but we have a 1961 Rolls-Royce with air conditioning that we'll probably be doing on this channel actually pretty soon. But that air conditioning unit takes up most of the trunk. In this case, I'll live without it. Windows down, it's great.
And the other nice thing is it means that we have the trunk to put stuff in.
Exactly. Right now, we're going on a long trip. We're going to be spending the night. We've got the trunk full of gear. And yeah, we could have tucked it all in our camera car and not had it in here, but we've got the capacity. Let's use it. I just had a butterfly crash into my windscreen.
Oh.
Unfortunately, one of the dangers of driving in summer is bugs.
Yeah.
It's the nature of it.
I guess that kind of thing shows that, yes, we do actually drive this car in all kinds of conditions, including bug-infested conditions.
This is a pretty much as-built, 100% correct car. This was a Concours level restoration. And my opinion of a Concours level restoration is show it when you want, drive it when you can.
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn this into a trailer queen. It is not worth doing. It is too nice of a car on the road to treat that way.
This is different philosophies of collecting. I am not judging anybody. If you love cars, you love cars, and that's the way it is. But people love cars in different ways. Some people love their car by never taking it out, never getting it dirty, taking it to shows, washing it once a week, waxing it the whole time, and that is one way to love your car.
It's not for me.
It's not for me either. We love our cars by taking them out and using them. And we do keep them clean and we do keep them maintained.
And we do show them. This car has been to multiple shows and multiple events. But it's this that I enjoy the most about owning it.
Yeah, and this is the primary way that we love our cars, is by driving them.
And sharing them. And sharing them means parking them in the parking lot. Let people see the car. Talk to people when they come up to you. Be friendly. Don't hide it. If they've got small kids, one of the best things you can do is let them sit in it. I don't care that this car is a X hundreds of thousands of dollars car. Let the kids sit in it. Let them have fun.
Sometimes, in our case, the kids are 20-somethings.
Yes.
Which, let me tell you, the look of delight on a 20-something's face is every bit as wonderful as the look of delight on a little kid's face.
Yeah.
It's the same emotion. It's the same happy moment. And being able to give people those happy moments is a lot of the reason why we do what we do.
Okay, welcome back to the future. Now that we've shown you the drive that we've had earlier, it's time to go into the Haugland scores. Here's how it works.
Alex and I have individually rated the car in 5 categories, each with a rank of 0 to 10. Then we add our scores together to give us the final Haugland score.
After we combine our scores, the results go up on the board.
So for performance, I gave this an 8. It accelerates really well. The brakes are good. The handling is good. It does what I ask it to. I also feel a little bit bad because I didn't drive it as spiritedly as it probably would have preferred.
I also gave it an 8, and part of that is the Lamborghini Espada I gave a 9 to. So it kind of made sense that this would fall at about an 8. I think it's a fantastic performing car. It does everything you ask of it. In general, it's very, very good. It could be better, but to be better, it would probably need to be newer. It would probably need to not be a car from 1962. Okay, moving on to style, I gave it an 8. And a big part of that has to do with the fact that I fell in love with this car when I first saw it. This is really such a perfectly balanced, perfectly presented GT car. It is one of the most beautifully executed examples of this style of car.
And I gave it a 9.5. I think this is one of the most beautifully balanced, beautifully styled, elegantly put together cars I have ever seen in my life. So for drivability, I gave it a 7.75.
Okay.
It is, in every way, a very practical car. It has a lot of room in the trunk. You can put 4 small people in it. It's very comfortable. It cruises very well. It's very drivable. But I would be terrified about parking it in the grocery store parking lot because I don't want anybody near this thing.
And I can fully relate. I gave it an 8. This is sounding familiar, isn't it?
It's a lot of 8s.
It's very practical as a usable car, especially for us who don't have children. If we did, they'd sit in the tiny little back seats, smoking their cigarettes or whatever the hell. Why the hell is there an ashtray for children? I don't know. But in 1962, I would have given this car a 10. Nowadays, it gets an 8. It is still expensive to buy parts. It's still hard to find parts for. It's not a practical car to drive every day from that sense. If I could get away with it, I would love to drive this every day. And on to significance, I gave this car an 8. And a big part of that is it is a Ferrari 250. The Ferrari 250 series of cars is what absolutely built Ferrari's reputation. It's the first car that Ferrari really built with the idea of it being a 4-seater. It's the first car that really kind of made the Ferrari a family car. This is really the epitome of what Ferrari was going to make the road cars into in the 1960s, and kind of what they're finally getting back to today.
And I gave it a 9 for similar reasons. This car represents the divergence between the thoroughbred race car and the road car for Ferrari. And the fact that they did that blazed a trail, I feel, for other sports car makers. I feel like it's significant both in Ferrari's history and in automotive history in general. For delight, I gave it a 9.
Okay.
I was not completely delighted with it, and that is because I am very short, and that made things like shifting a little more difficult. Not terribly, but I enjoyed driving it, and everybody who saw it loved it. I have a note in my journal from that day that says, everybody loves the Ferrari.
I gave it an 8.
You're very consistent.
I'm frighteningly consistent on this car. So I gave it an 8 because it really is one of those cars that everyone looks at and they're like, wow, that is something special. It is something that everyone who sees this car reacts to. On the downside, no, it is not the James Bond car. I have had people say that a frightening number of times when they see this, but they all recognize it as something special. And that is part of why I gave it an 8. Having done the math, that gives us a final score of 83.25. That just edges out our BMW 3.0 CS and puts our 1962 Ferrari 250 GTE in first place. That was a hard car to beat, and
Wow.
it's pretty amazing that we got there with this car. But I think it deserves it. I think it actually works to be the better car of the two.
I think so too, but
Just.
so close. A quarter of a point.
Especially considering that there's 10 years between the two cars. This is the older car, but even then, 10 years of development, it is still the better car. And with that is our 30th full episode with one little special tossed in. And that basically brings us to the end of season 3.
What a send-off.
Absolutely fantastic end to that season.
We're going to take a little bit of a longer break between episodes this time. So, sit back, relax, watch some back episodes. This is our prime season, summertime, for car shows and for car tours.
It's also a time when we're actually going off on vacation and doing other things as well. And that's making it much harder to film when it essentially takes us 3 weeks to make an episode. And that's 3 weeks of solid work. That means Joel and Jeff and Bobby, to some extent, don't get a break. We want to give them at least some opportunity to do that. That said, we're not going to leave you high and dry. We have something special that's coming out that we're going to start releasing in little bits and pieces. It won't be as long, but it'll give a little bit of behind-the-scenes details on a new project we're taking on and something that we're doing, and we'll keep that running in between episodes as we go forward, at least until it's done. And it'll give a good idea of sort of what's happening in sort of the automotive world and how we go about things. Let us know as soon as we start releasing new content what you think of it. If it's not worth doing, if you don't watch it, we're not going to keep doing it. This is for your entertainment. If you aren't entertained, if you aren't interested, then let us know, and we'll try and do things that are more entertaining and more interesting. And if you're attending car shows around Oregon, Washington, California, we might see you there.
Something else that I think is really important that came to my attention recently. If you see us at a car show, come say hi.
Yeah.
You're not bothering us. We would love to talk to you.
Absolutely. We're going to be down in LA in probably October for an Italian-focused car show. We're going to be up in other events throughout Oregon. We just got back from a major event in the north of Oregon and the biggest concourse the state has. It's been running for 52 years. That said, I think this is a good point to wrap it up, and we'll see you next season. Okay, bye!
Bye!